I bought the house my family lived in, and then I evicted them. That sentence sounds heartless, doesn't it? But let me tell you how I became the landlord of my own childhood home, and why handing my father that eviction notice was the first day I truly felt free. The fluorescent lights at the steel mill grill buzzed as I wiped down the bar after my shift. My phone vibrated. Ashley, my little sister, texting in her usual demanding clusters. Your card got declined buying shoes. Fix it. Grain, seriously, I'm at the register, looking like an idiot. Never mind, use the joint account. Transfer money as soon as possible. I opened my banking app in the dim closing light, feet aching from a double shift. The joint account showed -$47. My savings account, built over 3 years dreaming of my own place, had $234. I transferred $200, leaving myself enough for gas and ramen for the week. Account balance, $34.82. I was 32 years old, working 2 jobs, with less money than most teenagers. I drove home in the Honda Civic I'd been paying on for 4 years. Registered in my name, insured in my name, but everyone treated it like a shared vehicle. I'd lost count of how many times I'd emerged from work to find it gone, taken by my brother Kevin for errands he deemed more important. The house on Maple Street looked the same as always, a 2-story duplex with peeling paint and an unmaintained yard. I'd grown up here, dreamed of bigger things from my tiny bedroom window. Now, at 32, I still slept in that same twin bed, because every dollar I made went to keeping this family afloat. I walked in with takeout, cheap food that could stretch to feed 5 people. My father, Frank, sat in his worn recliner before the television, shouting at cable news. About time, he grunted. I'm starving. What took so long? I didn't answer. What would I say? That I'd worked 10 hours at the law office as a paralegal, then rushed to cover 6 hours at the bar? That I'd bought food with money I didn't have because the refrigerator was empty? My mother, Susan, sat at the kitchen table with her iPad, scrolling through shopping sites. Retail therapy, she called it. Credit cards maxed out, but she discovered buy now, pay later services. Oh, Chinese? I was hoping for Italian. Chinese upsets my stomach. She said this while reaching for the orange chicken, serving herself generously. My mother hadn't worked in 15 years, not since the factory closed. She'd gotten severance and decided she was retired at 50. Now, 65 and still retired, living off what I could only assume was my income. Kevin thundered downstairs, 26 and still living like a teenager. He grabbed 2 containers without asking. Hey, Grain, I need like $80 for a school project, he said over his shoulder. Kevin had been taking community college classes for 8 years, changing majors every semester. Music production this month, digital marketing last month. Never finishing anything, never holding a job beyond a few weeks. I don't have $80, I said flatly. He turned, face screwing up in entitled disbelief. What do you mean? You have 2 jobs. Yes, and those jobs pay for this house, utilities, food you're eating, the car you borrow whenever you want, and apparently Ashley's shoes. Don't be dramatic, my mother said, not looking up. Family helps family. I stood there in my grease and beer-smelling uniform and felt something crack inside my chest. Small, just a hairline fracture, but I felt it. The next morning at the law office where I worked for Marcus Chen, my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Grain O'Connor? Yes. This is Amanda from Merchant Credit Services. Account ending in 4,782 is 3 months delinquent. My stomach dropped. I don't have an account with you. This regards a card issued to Frank O'Connor. You're listed as authorized user and co-signer. 2 years ago, my father needed a credit card for medical expenses. He'd asked me to co-sign, promised he'd make payments. The limit was $5,000. How much is owed? $7,342, including late fees and interest. That evening, Ashley was in the living room with her ring light, live streaming. She'd been building her brand for 2 years, an Instagram and TikTok presence as a fashion influencer. 15,000 followers, which she constantly reminded us, was impressive. So, I just got this amazing jacket, she said to her camera, twirling in a leather bomber I knew cost at least $300, perfect for that casual chic vibe. I walked past. The floorboards creaked. Ashley's head whipped around, curated smile dropping. Grain, oh my God, you're in my shot, can you not? I saw myself in the preview window exhausted, hair in a messy bun, rumpled clothes, bags under my eyes. Someone working herself to death while her sister played influencer with money she hadn't earned. Sorry, I muttered, hurrying to my room. I lay on my twin bed staring at the familiar water stain. When would things change? When would I have my own life? My phone buzzed. Ashley had tagged me in her story, "When family doesn't respect your workspace," with a crying emoji. Comments rolled in, followers consoling her about her difficult family. Then came the Saturday that changed everything. I was working at the office when my father called. The car broke down. Route 41 near the outlet mall. Come get me. What happened? I don't know. There was smoke and it stopped. Come get me. Did you call a tow? With what money? Just get here. $40 in Uber fees later. I arrived to find him standing by the smoking Honda, arms crossed, face red. The cracked radiator hose meant expensive repairs. The car was old, over 100,000 miles, and I'd been deferring maintenance because there was never money for prevention, only emergencies. How long has the temperature gauge been hot? I asked. How should I know? I don't stare at the dashboard. The light would have come on. You should have pulled over. His face reddened. Don't blame this on me. This piece of junk is a death trap. I've been telling you we need a better car, but you're too cheap. Heat rose in my chest. I'm too cheap? I make the payments. I pay the insurance. You want a medal for taking care of your family? He shouted. You live in my house rent-free. You eat my food. You think you're some martyr because you help out a little? Passers-by stared, my face flushed with humiliation. Help out a little? I paid for everything. The mortgage in his name but unpaid by him for 7 years. Utilities, food, cable, internet. Everything. I don't have any money left, I said quietly. I've given everything. He stepped closer. I smelled beer on his breath at 3 p.m. You don't have money? That's rich. You're the only one with a steady job? Crying poverty? Because I'm supporting 5 people. He threw the car keys at my feet. They jangled on the asphalt too loud. Then, maybe you're not as good with money as you think. This is your car, your responsibility. Fix it or don't. Don't come crying to me when you can't handle your life. My mother's SUV was parked nearby. She'd driven separately. They'd both been at the outlet mall. Shopping. While I worked Saturday. She sat watching but not defending me. Not saying a word. Kevin was in the passenger seat, and when I caught his eye, he smirked. Ashley was in the back, phone up, recording my humiliation. Content for her followers. You know what? My father said, voice dripping contempt. If you can't handle being part of this family, maybe you should leave. Maybe you'd be better off on your own. He got in the SUV and they drove away. They left me standing by the broken car with no way home except another expensive Uber and no money to fix the vehicle I needed for my jobs. The diagnosis came that evening, $2,000 in repairs. Radiator, hoses, and the timing belt was about to snap, which would destroy the engine if not replaced. That night in my room, door locked, I examined my finances. I made a spreadsheet tracking every dollar I'd spent over 12 months. The numbers were staggering. Mortgage, $1,400 monthly. Utilities, $350. Internet and cable, $180. Groceries, $600. Car payment, $320. Insurance, $150. Then the extras Ashley's phone bill with newest iPhone, $150. Kevin's community college, $400 per semester, twice yearly. My father's credit card minimums, $200 monthly. My mother's subscriptions, $120. Family streaming services, $65. In the past year, I'd personally paid over $47,000 to support this household. My law office salary was $38,000. My bar income roughly $15,000 with tips. After taxes, I brought home about $42,000 annually. I was going into debt to support their lifestyle. They lived comfortably, shopping, buying designer clothes, watching premium cable, while I drowned. And they called me selfish. Something crystalline and cold formed in my chest. Not anger exactly. Clarity. I was 32, sacrificing my entire adult life for people who not only didn't appreciate it but actively resented me for not giving more. I opened my laptop and started clicking. Not thinking, just acting with mechanical precision. Automatic mortgage payment from my account. Cancelled. Set to draft from my father's disability account starting next month. Utilities. Removed my card, added my father's account. Cable and internet. Same. Grocery delivery. Cancelled entirely. Ashley's phone plan. Removed her line from my account. Joint account. Transferred the remaining $14 to personal savings, then closed it. Every subscription, every automatic payment. Disconnected. Then I packed. I didn't have much truly mine. Clothes fit into 2 suitcases. Laptop, books, documents. I packed like fleeing a disaster, quick and efficient. At 2 a.m., I carried bags downstairs, loaded them into an Uber, then returned for one final thing. I sat at the kitchen table with notebook paper and pen. My hand was steady. As you suggested, I'm leaving. The bills are now your responsibility. Good luck. I left it by the coffee maker where my father would see it, then walked out for what I thought might be the last time. My friend Jessica, a paralegal from another firm, had a spare room. I'd texted, "Long story, can I stay with you for a bit?" She'd responded immediately, "Doors unlocked, we'll talk in the morning." Morning came. Jessica made coffee without questions, just handed me a mug and waited. I told her everything. Years of financial abuse, though I'd never called it that. Constant demands. Guilt trips. Gaslighting me into thinking I was selfish for wanting anything. You know this is going to get ugly, right? She finally said. I know. They're going to try every manipulation tactic. Guilt, anger, fake emergencies showing up at work. I know, but I can't go back. Good, stay as long as needed. But Grain, be prepared. Really prepared. This isn't just moving out. This is war. Monday morning, I turned my phone sound back on. It exploded. 47 missed calls. Over 100 texts. Double-digit voicemails. The progression was predictable. First confusion. Where are you? Then fake concern. We're worried. Then anger. How could you leave? Finally, panic. The mortgage bounced. Internet isn't working. How do we pay bills? I deleted them all without responding, then blocked those numbers. If they needed me, they could email. I wasn't available for instant gratification anymore. At work, Marcus took one look at me and closed his office door. You look different. Not bad, just different. What happened? I gave the abbreviated version. He listened, nodded, said something surprising. I was wondering when you'd reach your limit. You're one of the hardest workers I've seen, but you've looked exhausted for years. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. That validation from someone with no stake in my drama meant everything. Friday afternoon, the receptionist buzzed. Grain, your sister is here? My stomach dropped. Tell her I'm in a meeting. I did. She says she'll wait. I went to the lobby. Ashley was there in a curated outfit, but her face was blotchy, eyes red, voice shrill. How could you? How could you do this? Ashley, you need to leave. This is my workplace. I don't care. You ruined everything. The receptionist looked alarmed. I kept my voice level, professional. I stopped paying bills that weren't my responsibility. You cut off my phone. I have sponsors, brands that need to reach me. I missed collaboration offers. Then get your own phone plan. With what money? I looked at her, felt nothing but cold clarity. Get a job, Ashley, like the rest of us. Her face went purple. I have a job. I'm an influencer. No, you have a hobby I was funding. There's a difference. Marcus had emerged from his office, standing supportively nearby. She saw him, realized where she was. Her voice dropped slightly, but the venom remained. We're going to lose the house. Dad can't make the mortgage. We'll be homeless. That's not my problem anymore. Your family, you can't abandon us. I didn't abandon you. I stopped letting you exploit me. There's a difference. She grabbed my arm. Not hard, but enough. Marcus stepped forward. Ashley let go immediately. If you contact me at work again, I'll file a restraining order, I said. Then I walked away. That evening, an email from my mother arrived. Long, rambling, full of recriminations. I was ungrateful, selfish, cruel. I was destroying the family. My father's stress might cause a heart attack, and it would be my fault. I read it once, archived it without responding. Jessica read over my shoulder and shook her head. Textbook emotional manipulation, every line. I know, I just never saw it before. I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Sarah Kim specialized in family trauma and financial abuse. Our first session was 3 hours. You've been in survival mode over a decade, she told me. Your normal meter is broken. What they did wasn't normal family dynamics, it was systematic exploitation. I cried in that office like I hadn't in years. Not sad tears, relief, maybe, or grief for the years I'd lost. Then came the email from Aunt Marie, my mother's older sister. Subject line, you need to see this. I don't know what's going on with you and your parents, and it's not my business, but I found this helping your father organize papers last year, made a copy because something felt wrong, sending it now because you deserve to know. Attached was a PDF of my father's life insurance policy, a $500,000 term policy from when I was in my 20s. I clicked through until the beneficiary designation page. The original listed all 3 children equally, Grain, Ashley, Kevin, 1/3 each. But there was an amendment from 2 years ago. My name was crossed out. In my father's handwriting, removed, financially irresponsible. The revised list showed Ashley and Kevin splitting my third 50% each. Below was a note. Grain has proven she cannot manage money effectively and would waste the inheritance. Better to provide for the children who appreciate family. I stared at that document for an hour. I was financially irresponsible? I, who paid their bills for 7 years while they spent freely? I would waste an inheritance? I, who tracked every penny while they bought luxury items, and they'd done it 2 years ago. 2 years I continued supporting them, sacrificing, going without, while they'd already written me out of their future. They decided I had no value beyond my paycheck. The next morning I called Marcus. Can you recommend a family law attorney? I'll do it myself, pro bono. Come in early and we'll talk. Over coffee, I showed him the document. His face hardened as he read. This is evidence of financial exploitation. Combined with your bank records, we could bring a civil suit. I don't want to sue, I just want them to leave me alone. Understood. But this documentation is important for establishing a pattern if they claim you owe them something or harass you further. We'll draft a cease and desist letter. As we worked, something nagged at me. The house. My father ranted for years about how it was his house, how I lived there by his grace. But I knew the truth. That house had been in foreclosure 7 years ago when my father lost his job. I'd stepped in, made arrangements with the bank, caught up the payments. I'd been paying the mortgage since. Marcus, if someone saves a house from foreclosure and pays the mortgage 7 years, do they have any legal claim? He looked thoughtful. Depends. Usually not if the deed is in someone else's name. But if you can prove you made payments with expectation of ownership, or if there was any agreement, even verbal, there might be grounds. Why? I told him about the house. He pulled up county records, searching for Maple Street. Something interesting appeared in recent transaction history. This is odd. The property was sold 3 weeks ago, to a company called Lakefront Property Holdings LLC. Your father sold the house. My heart stopped. He sold it? They're still living there. According to this, it's now owned by this LLC, probably a property investment company. They might renovate and flip it, or convert to rental. Can you find out more? Marcus made calls, pulling in favors. By lunch, we had more information. Lakefront Property Holdings had purchased several properties in that neighborhood, including the duplex, planning to renovate and either sell or rent. Sale price, $280,000, below market but reasonable for a property needing work. So my father sold the house I'd been paying for, took the money, didn't tell anyone. Looks like it. There's a note the new owners are allowing current residents to stay 60 days, through end of August, while they make renovation decisions. An idea formed. Crazy, audacious, possibly stupid. But it felt right. It felt like justice. Marcus, hypothetically, if someone wanted to buy a property from an LLC, how would they do it? He looked at me. You can't be serious. Why not? It's an investment property. The owners are in the business of buying and selling, and I have money now, savings for the first time in my adult life. Buying the house your family lives in to become their landlord is pretty dramatic. They called me financially irresponsible and removed me from the life insurance. They sold the house I'd been paying for without telling me. They've harassed me at work. Dramatic is the minimum they deserve. Marcus was quiet, then smiled slightly. Let me make some calls. Lakefront Property Holdings was very interested in selling. They'd bought it as part of a bulk purchase, and it was worse shape than initially assessed. The previous owner, me father, hadn't disclosed significant issues: outdated electrical, roof near end of life, foundation cracks. They were looking at putting another $50,000 into it before flipping. They'd rather pass it along. They quoted $260,000 firm, below market for the area but fair considering needed repairs. With my savings and a mortgage I could now qualify for, I could swing it. But I had one condition. The sale had to be through an LLC I would create. I didn't want my name on documents they might see. Marcus helped me file paperwork for a new company, Lincoln Park Investments LLC. Anonymous, professional, completely disconnected from me personally. The process took 3 weeks. Paperwork, inspections, mortgage approval. 3 weeks of moving into my own studio apartment, tiny but bright and entirely mine. 3 weeks of my family escalating contact attempts through extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years. Closing happened on a Thursday morning in September. I signed what felt like 1,000 documents and became owner of the house I'd grown up in. The house I'd saved from foreclosure. The house my father sold out from under me. It was mine now, legally and completely. Through Lincoln Park Investments LLC, I sent a formal letter to the residents, professional and cold, drafted by Marcus to be legally airtight. It informed them the property had been sold to new ownership and their 60-day grace period was ending. 2 options. Option 1, apply to rent the property at fair market value, $2,400 monthly. Application would require proof of income, rental history, credit checks, first month plus security deposit up front. Standard procedure. Option 2, vacate the property within 30 days with written notice. No option 3, where they continued living there paying nothing. Those days were over. I had the letter sent certified mail, return receipt requested. Then I waited. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. What the hell is this? My father's voice exploded. What kind of scam is this company trying to pull? I almost hung up but stopped. Let him talk. Let him dig his grave. I don't know what you're talking about, I said calmly. This letter, from Lincoln Park Investments. They're trying to charge us $2,400 a month. That's insane. We have rights. We've lived here 30 years. You sold the house, Dad. You don't have rights to property you don't own. Pause. How do you know about that? It's public record. You sold it to Lakefront Holdings for $280,000. That company sold it to Lincoln Park Investments. The new owners are offering you the chance to rent, which is generous considering they could evict you immediately. This is your fault. If you hadn't abandoned us, I wouldn't have had to sell. I needed that money because you stopped paying bills. Cold clarity settled over me. You needed money, so you sold a house you hadn't made a payment on in 7 years? A house I saved from foreclosure? A house I paid for while you called it yours? It was in my name. And now it's not. Now it belongs to someone else, and they want market rate rent or they want you out. That's how property ownership works. Sputtering, incoherent rage. My mother shrieked in the background. Then Kevin grabbed the phone. Grain, come on. You know we can't afford $2,400. Where are we supposed to get that money? Get jobs. All of you. Like I did. You're really going to let us become homeless? No, Kevin. I'm going to let you face natural consequences of your choices. You've had 30 days notice, and another 30 to find a place. That's 60 days. Most people get less. Ashley's voice came through, tearful and dramatic. How can you be so heartless? We're your family. You removed me from the life insurance because I was financially irresponsible. You called me an ungrateful freeloader. You filmed me at my lowest point for content. What family is that? I hung up, blocked the number, and sat in my studio apartment feeling something I hadn't felt in so long. Not guilt, not shame, pride. I was proud of myself for setting boundaries, for not backing down, for standing up after decades of being trampled. 30 days passed with no response, no application to rent, no notice to vacate. Just silence, their strategy. They were squatting, hoping I'd back down, hoping the anonymous company would go away or be too much trouble. They didn't know the anonymous company was me. They didn't know I had Marcus, who knew exactly how to handle difficult evictions. They didn't know I'd been preparing. On day 31, Marcus filed eviction proceedings. Court date set for 3 weeks out, one more chance to either pay up or move out. I knew they wouldn't do either. The court hearing was Wednesday morning. I sat in back of the courtroom, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, watching my family appear before the judge. Marcus represented Lincoln Park Investments, LLC. My father had no attorney, just himself and bluster. Your Honor, this is clearly a scam. My father started. We've lived in that house 30 years. They can't just kick us out. The judge, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, reviewed the file. Mr. O'Connor, according to these records, you sold this property 2 months ago, correct? Well, yes, but... And the new owners offered you the opportunity to rent at market rate, which you declined? The rate is too high. The rate is consistent with comparable properties in that neighborhood. You haven't paid rent, you haven't vacated, and you haven't responded to any official communications. Mr. Chen, your client is seeking immediate possession? Marcus stood. Yes, Your Honor. The residents have been given more than adequate notice and refused to comply with lease terms or vacate. We're seeking standard eviction order with 7-day move-out period. The judge nodded. Mr. O'Connor, do you have any evidence of payment, any rental agreement, any legal reason you should remain in property you no longer own? My father's face reddened. This is my daughter's doing. She's behind this. She's trying to punish us. The judge's expression didn't change. Is your daughter listed as property owner? No, but I know it's her. Then that's not relevant to this proceeding. This is a simple matter of property rights. You don't own the property, you haven't paid rent, you need to leave. She banged her gavel. Eviction granted. 7 days to vacate. If you're not out by then, the sheriff will remove you and your belongings. I watched my father's face go from red to purple. My mother crying, Ashley staring at her phone, probably composing a tragic Instagram post. Kevin just looked stunned, finally realizing actions had consequences. They filed out, and I waited 10 minutes before leaving. I didn't want to risk running into them. Marcus met me outside. That was extremely satisfying. Is that wrong of me? If it is, we're both going to hell together, I replied. The 7 days passed slowly. I hired a property management company to oversee the actual eviction. I didn't want to be there, didn't want another confrontation. The company reported back. The family vacated on day 6, leaving significant damage. Holes punched in walls, doors pulled off hinges, appliances mysteriously broken. Their parting gift. Repairs took 6 weeks and cost about $15,000. I'd expected something like this, budgeted for it. Angry people do destructive things. But with each repair, I felt lighter. This was my house now, my investment, my future. I decided to keep one half of the duplex for myself and rent out the other. The place had good bones. The neighborhood was up and coming. I painted my half in colors I actually liked, not the beige my mother insisted on for decades. I bought real furniture, not hand-me-downs and Craigslist specials. I made it mine. The other half, I listed for $1,400 monthly, well below what I could have charged. I wanted good tenants, stable people who would care for the place. I interviewed a young couple, both teachers, who fell in love with the space. Steady jobs, good references, actually excited to be there. Their rent covered the mortgage on the entire building plus extra. I'd done it. I'd taken the house I'd saved, the house I'd paid for, the house I'd grown up in dreaming of escape, and turned it into the foundation of my independence. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, secure, free. 3 months after the eviction, I got an email from Ashley. Subject line: I'm sorry. I almost deleted it unread, but curiosity won. The email was long, rambling, probably not entirely sincere. How hard things had been, how the family moved to a small apartment in a rough neighborhood, how she'd had to get a real job at a coffee shop and hated it. How our parents fought constantly about money. She said she understood now, sort of, why I'd left. She said she was sorry for taking advantage. Then, at the end, is there any way you could help us out? Just a small loan to get us back on our feet? I'll pay you back, I promise. I read it twice, waiting to feel something. Guilt, maybe. Pity. The old urge to fix everything. But there was nothing. Just that same cold clarity. I hit reply and typed one sentence: no. Then I sent it and blocked her email address. A year later, I sat on the small balcony of my half of the duplex, the side that had been my parents' master bedroom. I'd knocked out a wall, added French doors, created a little outdoor space for morning coffee. It was a Saturday morning in October, crisp and clear, and I didn't have to work. I'd quit the bar 6 months ago, finally able to live on just my paralegal salary plus rental income. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Kim. Proud of you. See you Tuesday. I looked out over the street, the same street I'd walked down so many times carrying the weight of everyone else's problems, the same street where my father threw car keys at my feet and called me worthless. The same street where I'd felt trapped and hopeless. Now it was my street, my house, my life. I'd paid for it in more ways than one, but now the deed had my name on it. Not through an LLC, not hidden behind corporate paperwork. I'd recently transferred ownership from Lincoln Park Investments to myself personally. Let them know. Let them see my name on county records. Let them understand that the daughter they threw away had built something solid and real from the ashes of their rejection. Through my aunt, I'd heard snippets of their life. My father was working night security at a warehouse, complaining constantly. My mother had taken a position at a grocery store, her first job in 16 years. Kevin had dropped out of community college for good, working at a cell phone store. Ashley's influencer dreams died when she couldn't afford the lifestyle she'd been showcasing. Still at the coffee shop, posting about the struggles of working retail, which was at least more authentic. Were they okay? Probably not. Were they suffering? Probably yes. Did I feel responsible? No. Not anymore. They'd made choices for years, choices to exploit me, to take advantage of my love and sense of duty, to bleed me dry while calling me selfish. Now they were making different choices, forced by circumstances they'd created. That wasn't my fault. That wasn't my burden. My tenant, Amy, came out of her side of the duplex with a trash bag. She waved when she saw me. Morning. Beautiful day, right? Absolutely, I called back. Hey, my sister's looking for a place and I mentioned you might be thinking of buying another property to rent out. If you ever do, let her know. I smiled. I'll keep that in mind. Another property. The idea had been percolating for months. I had good credit now, stellar actually, since I was only responsible for my own bills. I had savings building up. I had rental income. Marcus had mentioned foreclosures in the area that would be good investments. Maybe I would buy another property. Maybe I'd build a portfolio. Maybe I'd become one of those women who started with nothing and created an empire. Why not? I'd already done the hardest part, which was believing I deserved to try. I finished my coffee and went inside to my laptop. I opened my spreadsheet, the one I'd started the night I decided to leave, tracking every dollar I'd paid for that family. Over 7 years before I left, I'd paid them $337,000. $337,000 of my labor, my time, my life. The house cost $260,000 to buy back. Repairs and renovations, another $30,000. Closing costs, inspections, fees, maybe $10,000. Total investment, $300,000. I'd paid them more than it cost to buy them out of my life and reclaim my future. That was the math of codependency, the brutal calculation of exploitation disguised as family obligation. But I'd learned something valuable, something worth more than any inheritance. I'd learned my own strength. I'd learned that I could survive being hated by the people who were supposed to love me. I'd learned that I could choose myself, even when every instinct screamed at me to fix things, to sacrifice, to shrink myself down to make them comfortable. I'd learned that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let other people fall. Not pushing them, just stopping the exhausting work of holding them up. My email pinged. It was from Marcus. Sending you details on that foreclosure property we talked about. 3 flat in Logan Square, needs work but has great potential. Let me know if you want to take a look. I clicked the link, saw photos of a rundown but structurally sound building. I could already see what it could be, how I could transform it, how I could create homes for people while building security for myself. Yes, I typed back. Let's schedule a viewing. I looked around my living room. Afternoon light streaming through windows I'd paid to replace. Floors I'd paid to refinish gleaming. Walls I'd paid to repair and paint were exactly the shade of blue I'd always wanted. Every single thing in this space was mine, earned by my own effort, chosen by my own taste. I thought about that night I'd packed my bags in darkness, terrified and determined in equal measure. I'd left with 2 suitcases and $34.82 in my bank account. I'd been so scared. Scared of being alone, scared of failing, scared that maybe they were right and I really was useless without them, but I'd done it anyway. I'd walked away from the people who were supposed to love me, and I'd discovered something revolutionary. I didn't need them. I'd never needed them. They'd needed me, desperately, and they'd convinced me the dependency ran the other way. My phone rang. It was Jessica. "Hey, you busy? Want to grab brunch? There's a new place in Wicker Park I've been dying to try." "Sure," I said. "I'll meet you there in 30. I got ready, choosing clothes from a closet that wasn't packed with hand-me-downs or clearance rack desperation. I looked at myself in the mirror, really looked, and saw someone I'd never seen before. Someone strong, someone who'd survived, someone who'd thrived. I grabbed the keys to a house I owned, a car I owned, a life I owned, and I walked out into a perfect fall day. The coffee shop on the corner had a sandwich board advertising pumpkin spice lattes. A couple was walking their dog past my house. The teachers who rented from me were loading something into their car, probably heading out for a weekend adventure. It was all so beautifully, perfectly normal. The kind of normal I dreamed about when I was wiping down bar tops at 2 in the morning and transferring my last dollars into a joint account. The kind of normal that had seemed impossible when I was trapped in that house, in that room, in that life. As I walked to my car, I passed the spot where my father had thrown the keys at my feet. I remembered standing there, humiliated and broken, while my family drove away and left me stranded. I remembered the shame, the anger, the moment when something inside me finally snapped. That moment had saved my life. That moment when I'd decided I was done being their doormat, their ATM, their scapegoat. That moment when I'd chosen myself for the first time ever. I got in my car and drove to meet Jessica, and I didn't look back at the house. I didn't need to. It would be there when I got home, solid and real, a physical representation of everything I'd built from nothing. That night, after brunch had turned into an afternoon of walking around the city and catching up, I came home to my quiet, peaceful space. I made dinner. Just for myself. Exactly what I wanted. I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony as the sun set over Chicago. My phone buzzed one last time. It was an email from the county assessor's office, a routine notice about property taxes. But seeing it reminded me of something, and I pulled up the county records website on my phone. I typed in the address of my house, my beautiful duplex that I'd reclaimed and transformed. The ownership history appeared. There was my father's name, spanning 30 years, then Lakefront Property Holdings, LLC, then Lincoln Park Investments, LLC. And now, most recently, Grain O'Connor, sole owner, my name, on the house I'd saved, on the home I'd built, on the foundation of the life I was creating. I took a screenshot, not to post anywhere or show anyone, just for me, just to remember that I'd done this. I'd walked away from everything I'd known, faced down my worst fears, and come out the other side stronger. The girl who used to lie in a twin bed staring at a water-stained ceiling, dreaming of escape, would never believe where I'd ended up, but she'd be so proud. I'd gotten out. I'd survived. And I'd done more than just escape. I'd conquered. I'd turned their rejection into my liberation, their dismissal into my foundation, their cruelty into my strength. I raised my glass of wine to the sunset, to the city, to the future I was building brick by brick. Then I went inside, to my home, and closed the door on the past. It was really, truly finally over, and I was free.